Well, good morning. It's a beautiful Friday morning here in Salt Lake City. It is time for Geospatial 2.0 Friday Talk. Today we're going to cover quite a big issue, quite a big topic, geospatial digital twins demystified. You'll notice that word geospatial slid in there carefully. So let's crack on. So my sense is there's a lot of confusion around digital twins. Does it mean 3D? Does it mean models? Does it mean device shadows? Does it mean prediction systems? Let's go ahead and give a definition, at least what I perceive as the right definition. And I'm going to make this a geospatial definition. So my sense of just reading the literature and what really is the definition in our world, our geospatial world, not in the design world, not in some of these other worlds, is a geospatial digital twin is a virtual representation of the real world. It can include objects, processes, relationships, behaviors, and changes. And I think that encapsulates what I see as the digital twin that we relate to in the GIS geospatial world. It's a representation of those different aspects. Let's keep moving on. I think one of the most crucial things about a digital twin is it must contain mirror images of reality. So what do I mean by that? Let's just walk through some examples. So is a simple 2D static map a digital twin? I would argue no. I think a 2D digital map, static map, is a representation of reality. There's nothing there that's a mirror image of reality. How about a 2D map with real-time components? That might be a 2D map which shows vehicles moving, people moving. Is that a digital twin? In my view, yes, that is a digital twin, because there is actually a mirror image there, which is that component, that IoT component, the person, the thing, the vehicle moving. So it potentially is a mirror image of reality, that component is. Third one, 3D digital reality. That's what most people think about as a digital twin. You know, we're taking a virtual city and we represented it in three dimensions, for example. So there's objects there, buildings, etc., that are mirror images of reality. So I would say for sure a 3D, dare I use the word model, but I'm not going to use that word model. I mean a representation of a city in 3D. We can actually see the buildings and the fascias, etc. I would argue that is a digital twin. And then the fourth one is a 3D digital twin with real-time components. So, you know, to me, that's sort of the ultimate representation of the digital twin, where you've got 3D and 4D together. So those are my thoughts around that. So simple 2D static maps versus geospatial digital twins. There is a real synergy between what we've used in GIS historically, the 2D static map, and the digital twin. My sense is, as I've thought about this and worked through some of these things, that the real value of a traditional GIS static map is that it gives us this macro level representation. So it allows us to drop a lot of data on and interact with that data in this representation of reality, so we can actually discern patterns and relationships. So that's really been important. And as we've done analyses and represented them on maps, that's the kind of stuff that we're looking for. But it doesn't end there more often than not. More often than not, we want to get down to that micro level. And this is where that idea of why of there comes in. I always think geography is that sort of study of why of there. You start at the big level, and then you drill down into the actual details. And this is where we get into the details. Geospatial digital twin really gives us that sense of the micro level. Let me look and see actually what's there. So we can actually, as if we were standing on the street corner, for example, and see what's around. So I think there's a real synergy, I'll use that word again, between the static map, which I don't believe is a 2D static map, which I don't believe is a digital twin, and also the real digital twin. So, you know, one provides value to the other and back and forth. But one could also argue that if one doesn't get the 2D perspective and the 3D perspective, any analysis that's run in a GIS, for example, is less valuable, because the insight you've gained from those two together is super valuable. So the power of augmentation and enrichment. I think what digital reality brings us, geospatial digital reality, is we can actually, again, I'll use that example, we can walk around a city digitally and see what that city looks like. So it's a representation, a mirror image of that city. But what we can also do there is what could be. So a good example is we can take a design of a building. In isolation, a building is useful to architects and construction folks and engineers, etc. But it hasn't got the context of place. If we actually drop that building into the spot where we think we're going to actually build it, what does that look like? What are the shadows? How does it, all of those things, that the context that's provided by dropping it into the real world, the digital real world, is something that's super valuable. And in many ways, that's sort of the augmentation enrichment piece. But then the bigger piece to me actually is real world data enrichment. So we can see things in reality. I mean, I'd use an example I've used historically, which is, safety engineers can drive out to an intersection to try and understand by looking and measuring why there are so many crashes at an intersection. But we can enrich reality in the digital world. So we can add data to that scene that we couldn't do in reality. Again, an example I've used before is we can put in point data from a GIS into that 3D digital twin, and we can actually see where those crashes were. We can click on a crash and actually find out what type of a crash it was. So that whole idea of enriching the data, finding out more than we could in reality, is incredibly powerful. So let me summarize this quickly. I believe that 3D digital reality, which is 3D, it's a mirror image of what we can look at, of objects, gives us a sense of place. 4D shows us change, and we can understand processes and behaviors, etc. With 4D, but it really, at the core of 4D, it's change, it's people, it's things that are moving, it's things that are static and physically moving, reporting back on their state or where they are, etc. So that's really the power of 4D. Augmented 3D or 4D, I've just mentioned before, it really gives you that enhanced sense of place. So yeah, I don't just want to drive out to that street corner, I want to see a digital version of it, and I want to click on things and find out more than I could if I was just standing on that street corner. So it gives you that enhanced sense of place. The ultimate representation, in my view, of digital reality, or geospatial digital reality, is bringing 3D and 4D together. That truly is digital reality. That's the true digital twin to me, because that's mirroring our world. Since our world is made up of behaviors, processes, systems, when we bring all that stuff together, we've actually got a mirror image of the real world digitally. And then there's this last piece which I really don't know enough about it, but I put it in this talk just to be dangerous. Augmented 3D and 4D. I have a set. There's this new term that's being used called metaverse, which is sort of bringing the geospatial GIS world and the gaming world together and more. So I put a question mark there because I really don't fully understand the metaverse, but I have a sense that it's probably this augmented 3D, 4D, digital twin, digital reality. Again, I watch my son gaming, and the things that he can pull up and the things he's doing there feels like an aspect of the metaverse. So I throw that in there just to be dangerous. I wanted to cover that today because I hear it mentioned a lot, particularly in our geospatial world, and I kind of wanted to define it from my perspective, how I kind of see it. I think that the digital twin, the geospatial digital twin, I'll call it digital reality, is an enormous part of our future for GIS and for geospatial. Not only does it complement what we've done historically in GIS with sort of 2D static maps, but it enriches the perspectives that we can get, the insight that we can get. So anyway, what do you think? Drop a comment. If you like this, give me a like. You can reach me at matt.sheehan@𝐷igital.com. Love to hear anything you've got to say on this topic, and I'll probably cover this again in future talks. So have a lovely weekend, and we'll talk again next week.